Okay, it shows that we're live. Just check in with you, Jules.
Hold on.
Looks good to me on the studio here. That we're live. Just check in with you, Jules.
Hold on.
Looks good to me on the studio here. That we're live. Just check in with you, Jules.
Hold on.
Okay, great. Let's get started, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We're doing something different here this morning. Just check in with you, Jules. And let me turn off something here. Okay, great. Let's get started, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. We're doing something different here this morning. Just check in with you, Jules. And let me turn off something here. And Tim, what I'm going to do is, since I've got two things on two different. Thank you very much for
Dan, you're echoing.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn my mute button on and let you take it from here.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Something here. And Tim, what I'm going to do is, since I've got two things on two different. Thank you very much for
Dan, you're echoing. Dan.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn my mute button on and let you take it from here.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Something here. And Tim, what I'm going to do is, I've got two things on two different. Thank you very much for
Dan, you're echoing. Dan.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn my mute button on and let you take it from here.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Something here. And Tim, what I'm going to do is, I've got two things on two different. Thank you very much for
Dan, you're echoing. Dan.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn my mute button on and let you take it from here.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Something here. And Tim, what I'm going to do is, I've got two things on two different. Thank you very much for being here.
Did we fix it?
Yes, I turned off my YouTube link.
There was a YouTube double link somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
With
I
echo.
turned mine off, and hopefully if you've turned yours off, we should be good to go then.
Let's go.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. This is a first for us. We're actually using two different services, which is pretty exciting. I'll let Tim talk about that, but I'm Dan Gay, the Chief Marketing Officer of Blocksearch Blockchain, and thanks for joining us. You're actually joining us live on a live YouTube link, and we're very excited to be offering you two different solutions here, which we're streaming live on YouTube from our own video solution. So I'll let Tim talk about that. But Tim Vasco, the Chief Executive Officer of Blocksearch Blockchain, we're talking about the world from here, change is forever, and the digital dozen. And I'm very excited to hear more about this morning. So
First of all, I'd like to say thanks, everybody. This is really exciting for us because we're announcing our own video service. And as you can see, we're testing it out with streaming on YouTube, streaming live today. So our video service is embedded in our platform. And we did that because obviously the way we meet today, the way we address the world today is just like this. So a little feedback loop we had because we're actually running off of the Blocksearch blockchain environment server, and we're also running off of Google's amazing and far-reaching YouTube service. So thanks for bearing with us as we go through a launch and of technology that is incredibly powerful. and we do believe change is forever. And what I'm going to do is start out by talking about what is the new face of the business world. You're seeing it right here, and you're seeing it live. We used to meet in boardrooms. In fact, just the other day, I had somebody say, "Hey, do you want to get into a boardroom?" I'm like, no, I'm never going to go into a boardroom again if I don't have to. This is the boardroom. This is the new face of the business world. In fact, it's the face of the world. I invited my mom here. So hi, Mom, if you are on YouTube. I've never been able to do that before. And this is how I talk to my mom. She's in the United States. I'm in Canada. The border's closed. I talk to my sisters, my mom. I talk to Daniele all the time on video. He's in Italy and Rome right there. Hey, Daniele. And Dan's in the United States as well. So, we are the new face of the business world. And we are so excited to present this tool embedded into an incredibly powerful platform we built with BlockSearch, because it is a new way of doing business. This isn't just about video. Video's great. It's fantastic. I have nothing but respect for all of the companies that have helped keep us together as a globe, a planet, a society, business people, families. All of these video tools are amazing. And I think what we've seen is how far technology had come, and maybe what we were just not really appreciating before the pandemic. But now we really appreciate it. And we appreciate it more than ever, because our cities and our countries literally have been locked down. And lockdowns continue to be the norm. And it continues to challenge us to think about how we can keep our economics going, our families going, our lives going in the middle of something that is, it's not unprecedented. It happened a year ago or 100 years ago with the Spanish flu, but it is unprecedented in our time, and it is really reshaping the world. So everything from Mumbai to the United States to London to everywhere in the world, Italy, you name it, we've had to make our adaptation. And Daniele and I were talking the other day, and he's going to bring this up. I asked him to, but business travel. I spent more hours than I can count, more days than I can count, away from my family, on airplanes, going to events, going to cities, and doing business travel, going into those boardrooms, meeting people, networking, and things like that. This is the new normal. This is the way business is done. This is how we meet people. This is how we get things done. I couldn't be more thrilled that at BlockSearch we were building an already incredibly virtual, but I had always spent millions and millions of hours, miles on airplanes, and about 35% of my year was spent in hotel rooms. So for me, the lockdown has been an incredible reprieve, and I'm not going back. There's no way I'm going back to that life. I get to see my family more. I get to see what my kids are up to, even if I'm working really hard, which I do too much at the home office. I'm still very aware of what's going on with my family, and I wasn't able to do that. That's the change in the world. So of all the difficulties and negatives, there are positives. I can't tell you, and Dan, I know you've had this conversation with me, how many people that have older kids are just so thrilled that they were able to have their kids come back, which would have never happened before, and live at home again, which would have never happened before. And we kind of get a second kick at the can. So for all the negatives and difficulties, we always try and look at, well, what are the positives? What are the changes, and how can we embrace that? And that's really what today is about. And it's what BlockSearch's new platforms, things we're rolling out literally every week, working really hard to get to the world today, like the video and video streaming service. Our teams worked incredibly hard at this, and we've used it nonstop for the last few weeks, and it's robust, it's strong, and we're bringing it to all of you today. But how has that been for you, Dan, when we were able to, have your kids home and come back? And it's kind of been strange and fun and everything all at the same time, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been, and it's weird because I worked a lot of hours before, but being at home, you work even more hours because it's just there. But you also have, as everybody knows, and even like the New York Times stated with the top 50 Fortune 500 CEOs, that 50% or more, even 80% in some surveys, say they're not going to go back to the office.
Right.
90% of people say they'd rather work from home now because they found a little bit better balance. And just when we think about the amount of time that we used to spend in cars and planes and that was wasted time, that can be time that we spend doing things that are important to us, like working out or being with our family too. So
exactly. Take that commute time and go do a workout, go do a run. Take the time that what I've found is taking the time when I was going to an airport or sitting in an airport lounge. That's the time I can actually just think through what's the business and what's going on with our business. So, it's been a big awareness for me. And it's been a big change, and I think it has in many people's lives.
Yeah. And Tim, I just want to give a shout out to Jules just real quickly here, because this is just amazing what this video conferencing that we're on right now. It's just, I'm blown away. I know we've been using it for the last 3 or 4 weeks, but this is a huge feat here.
Yeah, so Jules is our Chief Security Officer and head of IT. Jules looked at this and he said, we can do that and we can embed that in the BlockSearch platform, and everybody needs it. This was about a month ago. And I said, Jules, if you can do it, do it. And we laid down the gauntlet, laid down the challenge, and here we are today, streaming live on YouTube with a webinar and with the technology embedded. And what I'm going to show you today is the technology. We're going to next week have an invite on how it all works, but I'm going to explain to you what it is that we do differently than anywhere else in the world that I know. And that's all the big names that you know about. This is what makes BlockSearch different and gives us the fabric of what we're doing. And I'm going to explain why we're doing it. So business travel and events is one thing, but another came up and continues to come up. And I loved this one with some internal chats we had. I did get permission from the authors this morning, kind of. I just said we're going to do this. But in India, as many of you know, we've worked in India virtually now. We got an amazing team there. Our amazing global HR leader is there, and we've been there for almost 8 years as a corporation. So Chitra is there, and she said, finally, after 16 hours of power failure around midnight, they got power back. And Andrew, who's actually in Canada, said, we need to get your solar and a Tesla battery. And Chitra came and said, I think so too, Andrew. My God, no power, no internet, no connection with the outside world. That's really scary. And I wanted to use that because I think it is true. We've experienced the fear and the impact of lockdowns. We've experienced the fear and the impact of untold sadness, death, this virus that's going around that has just changed us psychologically. And the one thing that we have to really hold us together is technology. And when that breaks down, that infrastructure breaks down, that just adds to the stress and the fear. But so we needed to, and we at BlockSearch have realized for years as we've built this out, being a virtual company, we can't have downtime. We needed to start working on how to avoid downtime and how to have as much uptime as possible, because outages affect everybody. They affect everybody in such a huge way now. You can see I've got a little map here of from last week, I believe it was. It was August 24th well, this is August 24th global outage map, but I believe it was last week or the week before when Microsoft Office 365 went down all over the world. And there were outages all the way back to 2016. So when we've got these consolidated global grids, in order to stay connected, we need to distribute those grids. We need to make sure that we're not all dependent on some centralized service. And Daniele's going to talk about decentralization from a financial and business standpoint. I'm going to talk about decentralization today from a technology standpoint. And obviously, we've got power grids that are critical. We've got this kind of idea of cloud connection. And cloud really now is a utility. It's a global utility that we have to run our lives. And when these big platforms that we look at, that we depend on, that have these disruptions of services, Slack went down a few weeks ago as well, just shortly after Microsoft. And you can see it happened in 2017. So the idea of centralized technologies, centralized cloud services that can either lock us out from being down, or as Dan and I have talked about over and over again, lock us out because a credit card gets declined and we can't get into our business. Either way, we're locked out. We're not even locked down. We're locked out and we can't do anything. And as Chitra said, it's really scary. This is our livelihoods. We should have more control over those, from our data to our platform. That's what BlockCert is committed. That's our mission to deliver to the world, so that we don't have that frightening events. And we can get back to what our normal looks like. I wanted to share this picture. This is the gateway to India, before and after. So there's some of our team, some of our brilliant engineers that we have over there. There's Chitra in the background. And we had an incredible time being there. That's what it was like pre-pandemic, just months before the pandemic. And this is what it's like after today. So as we can see, we have to embrace our uncertain world. We don't really know what the world looks like in the future. How can we know when the next lockdown is going to come? How can we know when the next event is going to happen that impacts us professionally, personally, on a global scale? We can't know that, but we can be prepared. We can make progress, and we can change our habits. We can change our view of how we did things in the past, how we do things. And part of that change is changing the things that we use. Today, we are changing. This is the first time we've done a webinar on our own platform. This is certainly the first time we've ever streamed on Zoom. I'm kind of feeling cool, like a YouTuber here. I don't know.
Oh, hold on, Tim. Not on Zoom.
I mean, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right? The first time we haven't been on.
Yeah, we've gone Zoomless.
Thank
We're
you.
Zoom-free.
Zoomless. And it's progress. And we want to minimize disaster. We want to take that and be resilient. And BlockCert, we have a mission to be resilient leaders, to challenge ourselves. We were just on a leadership call this morning, and we challenge ourselves to get out of our feedback loops, our habit feedback loops, because a habit feedback loop is really, really, really difficult to change. I even asked one of the on the leadership call, has anybody ever tried to stop smoking? Or I've never smoked, but I tried stopping coffee once, and it was awful. It was awful. I went back to drinking coffee. I love coffee. But the point is that changing a feedback loop is really difficult. It challenges us. I believe we say it takes 21 days, right, Dan?
21 days, 3 weeks, and you have to replace one habit with another habit.
That's right. And there's a great book on that. It's called The Power of Habit. And The Power of Habit explains really, really well how feedback loops work. So what we're doing at Blocksearch is providing you new tools and a new platform to hopefully change the way you think and get new innovation going, but also help you change some of those feedback loops within yourselves and your teams. This idea of mass gatherings and this idea of changing the way things are didn't start with Blocksearch or with our platform in the beginning of the pandemic. This goes back to 2013, 2014. So about 7 years ago, I decided to start making a move to deal with how we would go virtual and how we would deal with out-of-the-box thinking in very unique situations. In those days, we were very involved with mass gathering medicine. We still have our medicine, telemedicine new model that we're bringing up, and we'll talk a little bit about that today. And mass gathering medicine was, in the case of a disaster such as the Boston Marathon, the New York Marathon, the Olympics, anything like that. What happens if something goes wrong? How do you get an ambulance even into a scene when roads are blocked off, when maybe infrastructure is destroyed and things like that? So this way of thinking was dealt with back then. I had our first meeting in my offices in June of, I believe it was, I can't remember the year. It was June, the year before the Boston Marathon. And we came up with a solution. It's based on the foundational platform you're looking at today. And I said, and this is how you do it with an app, down to an app. So every runner, every participant would have an app. It was 3 months later that the Boston Marathon happened and the sad bombing, and it was just devastating to see that. And what happened was we immediately regathered with the teams working on mass gathering medicine, and started looking at how could this be handled with technology better. So our thinking was being shaped for the world we have today at our company. And then a few years ago, we saw this headline that affected really the globe on how centralized data got attacked. Centralized data solutions are mass gatherings. Make no mistake that everything that happens on a platform where you put your data, if that data is in a centralized data place, it is a mass gathering of data, and it's a mass gathering of your information. And I don't need to go through all of the different ways we've seen this handled, from both what happened at Facebook to more recently in August, the congressional hearing on how are we going to handle all this consolidated power and how are we going to deal with that within the United States, and of course Europe and around the world. The EU are looking at these things. So centralized solutions are mass gatherings. So what does the new face then look like? What's the new face of normal going to look like? This is what it looks like today in the real world. We question, our masks are the new face of our society, and what happens with security there? What happens with identification? What's the impact on our kids and our lives? Is this our new normal? We don't know those questions or those answers yet, but certainly in many jurisdictions, I think in Italy still, if you go outside without a mask, isn't that correct, Daniele? There's a fine, a penalty. You can even be thrown in jail, I think. Isn't that correct?
Also, if you walk. So I was walking on the street before, and so it's mandatory to wear a mask. Only if you run, you are exempted. But in any other situation, you need to wear a mask. And Italy is going to approach probably a new lockdown before the end of the year. It's not yet decided, but is going to be worsened in the coming weeks. So definitely this is going to increase over and over in the coming weeks. Yeah.
So when we talk about our new normal, we talk about what's the new face of that. And it's not just the mask, it's how we think about our connection to the world, and we minimize the impact and maximize our opportunities to not be concerned, but be adaptive. And this is how BlockSearch is doing it. We're distributing the cloud. You're seeing that right now live. You're seeing how we're distributing it through the two platforms, our own video platform and YouTube. So we're actually on two completely separate environments, two completely separate clouds. What you're not seeing is behind the scenes, how we've constructed the infrastructure so you can own your own cloud, your own infrastructure, and never be blocked out through our containers and our secure virtual spaces, which actually are patented. And we thought about it and wrote it up, and we're lucky enough to get a patent. We were innovative enough to get a patent. It doesn't happen if it exists anywhere else. So we call our tools on top of that the digital dozen, which I'm going to explain to you in a minute. The dozen things, the 12 things you must do if you're truly going to be a global business, a virtual business, a digital business. There's 12 things you have to do. You will do these no matter what at some point, and if you're successful, you will scale them. That's the first thing. The second thing is how we distribute the cloud and how we create the flows to use all these. Think about that. That's 12 things I need to do, some simultaneously, some literally within milliseconds of each other, some all at once. So we have to deal with that. And there's lots of ways that we build the back end of the technology and the front end to do this that is incredible. One of our really ardent supporters is going to bring out a very cool streaming service. It's incredibly entertaining. I've had the exciting opportunity to see them as they're building races with these amazing cars, and that's going up on BlockSearch. It's called Supercar Driven. If you want to go look at some of the cool things they're doing with these cars on YouTube, go look at Supercar Driven. But what we talk about in technology is a thing called a race condition. And there really is ways that we have to manage loads, and we manage the way data flies next to each other. So if Dan's doing something, Daniele's doing something, and I'm doing something, we actually assemble that in a way that it doesn't collide and have a crash or corrupt the data. Those are all called race conditions. So there's some really cool tech behind this that I won't geek out too much on. Let me tell you that distributing the cloud is not an easy task. Again, hats off to our team, to Jules, to everybody that's out there helping us build the digital dozen and deliver this to you. Our operating system to do that we call Work Certain. This is how we create collaboration. We create fluid operations anywhere, and meetings have a new meaning. Meetings have this idea that not only are we meeting, but we can action them. We get off this meeting, this will be recorded, there will be an activity, and almost simultaneously, I can do a number of things without any collisions or running into roadblocks. Which service do I have to go to? Which login do I need next? If I'm sending a document to sign, for example, where did it go? And when I get it back, where do I store it? All of that in one place. My video meeting, recording, I don't have to upload it, download it, whatever. It's right here. Like everything in one place is Work Certain. And Work Certain, being our new operating system for the cloud, allows us to embed different tools that you need to run your business, that you need to run your life. It's really cool. And that's how we manage the operating system. So here's the digital dozen. First of all, the private key-based identity authentication. Everything in blue is based on blockchain. We talk a lot about blockchain, but when we do these things, this is blockchain based, and that was the technology that emerged to allow us to truly secure and validate and link everything together. So from private keys, you then will do maybe typically a video meeting. Anybody who's been doing this now for a while knows that you have these video meetings. Then you immediately need to do some messaging collaboration. And if you look across the stack, you'll recognize a bunch of names here. And this is all the tools that those guys provide incredibly well, actually. They're all very, very deep, one-off, or some of them have a few tools here, and they're great. There's, again, there's lots of respect for it. It's just that they don't do it all in one place. And so I have to jump around from here to there or build an API, which is an application program interface, to get my job done. Those are blockers and barriers. Because we've been doing this for so long, we realized this way earlier when we wrote our patent, and we said, what if we could just do all of that all in one place with one login? What if we could do that? That would be cool. Then blockchain came along, and we were able to create, and we're, spoiler alert, rolling out a hub where you can go anywhere in the world, and not only with your own cloud, you can share that cloud on your node. So that's where blockchain really shined for us. And I'll never forget when I had that realization at 3 o'clock in the morning in Silicon Valley, sitting there eating pizza with a bunch of blockchain guys. And it was when Bitcoin was brand new and they were talking about it. I'm like, I know what we could do with business with this thing. And that was when the whole mission actually started to bring this capability up, which we have today. File sharing. If I want to file share, it should be there. It should just be there. I should be able to secure it. I should be able to know who's looking at it. All of that. CRM has been around for a long time. I started my career in this industry in CRM in 1999. I chose not to just build a CRM very early on. In fact, our first platform was called CRM3, and I think that probably goes back to 2000, believe it or not. And it was messaging, marketing, and management, not just customer relationship management, but all three of them. So integration has been in the blood of everything that I've wanted to do for all these years. Then we get into shopping carts. In those days, of course, Amazon became famous at taking the shopping cart and making it what Amazon is today. So what kind of e-commerce are you going to do? Are you selling a product or a service? That's all part of the digital dozen. Everybody is offering something in the business world. How are you going to manage that? How are you going to get it to your customer? What's that flow? And how are they going to pay for it? E-signing documents are huge. Again, I don't even have to explain that. But PDFs and emails aren't secure. And they're all over the place. They're literally all over the place. And the workflows are awful. And links expire. And it's mind-bending to do that. If you have it in your work certain space, if you're using sign certain, it's all just there. It's just there. And you've got a full log of everything. Marketing tools. Again, okay, we've got a business. We need to market it. So we need to do email marketing. We need to do social media. We need to track that. We need to do analytics. This is complicated stuff. There's specialists, brilliant specialists. We work with them. We've got a platform built that allows you to easily do that. But spoiler alert again, we're going to be able to not only market, but immediately let somebody interact with you in any way they want to. They want to have a video? Boom. How cool is that? It's just like your storefront welcoming somebody into your shop or into your reception room in your business. So when we do this, we do all of that. And ultimately, the customer service desk, where we take care of our customers, the entire life cycle, all there in one place. We don't have to go out to another solution to go use a customer service desk. And we can see the whole history of what our customers really are, our clients, our partners, and what have you. And finally, payment processing. Shouldn't we be able to just do that? Just accept a payment, just be our own bank, process the payment, know where it's at, and not be guessing or even with smart contracts and things like that, just have it automatically. Once we deliver and is accepted, it all is handled. And you've just eliminated a huge amount of argument, as well as administrative, as well as delays that aren't necessary. On top of, and I will definitely say this, trillions of dollars of cost, trillions of dollars of cost that support all these banking machines. And finally, all of that on an audit log, so everybody knows what's going on, that has a private key, bottom to top, and you can never go back and say, I didn't say that. You can say that I didn't say that. Then you can go see, did you or did you not say that? Did you or did you not do that? That's the digital dozen. At some point, you will do every one of those. And most of us will get off a video meeting and want to immediately start collaborating or what have you. So just think about your habits today, the feedback loop you do. You get off a meeting and you text, you email, you Skype, you set up an appointment, you maybe bring that forward, then you have to get into some documentation. Maybe you sign an NDA, maybe you have a contract that goes out. That contract goes out, then you have to collect payment. You maybe have to send that through multiple teams or get approval, so you have to invite people. How do you do that today? How many places do you have to go to do that today? We're not going to talk about cost, but I will tell you it is a minimum in our estimation of at least 5 times more expensive to do it when you go horizontal across all those tools than when you go vertical and you have everything that you control in one place. And finally, we built it to adapt to our style. Every business is different. Everybody thinks different. It's what makes us competitive. It was what makes us unique. And if you can walk your own walk and talk your own talk, you can adapt it to your style. That's why we made it modular. That's why we made it so you can pull everything together and you can go to our app store and say, I want this, 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 and this. Now, let me tell you where we're at and where we're not at. Where we're at today is we're onboarding some amazing companies and amazing industries with really cool ideas, or already operating really big operating businesses, some over $1 billion, and we're building those out. Where we're not at is and I'm going to show this at the end, we're not yet the iPhone 12, which is being released. We're more like the iPod or iPhone 4. So it goes through a learning curve when you're building technology and you're building these things out. You're doing it and it's innovative and it's powerful. Sometimes we don't even know the amount of power we have, much like the idea of video. So
one thing I want to point out, Tim, though, is that other companies aren't even to the Sony Walkman stage of having the cassette Sony Walkman.
Thank you. Exactly. Like we've been at this for so many years now, it's hard to count. And you're right, they're not even at the Sony Walkman stage. So let me tell you that one of the most powerful things that we've done is because we built this over a long time, and this has been built, by the way, with real customer, real business experience. We've done over $3 billion of gross market revenue through the platform. We've learned every step of the way. And the one thing we learned, Daniela, get ready. The one thing we learned is every company, no matter what, needs 2 things. And what are those 2 things? They are, let me turn off my other device here. They are money and technology. And I have asked this in a couple of presentations. Tell me what business can run today without one of those 2. So what we see is this massive transformation of the bank services that we were used to being embedded into our businesses through digital only banks and digital tools that really eliminate what the checking account and the ATM and the credit card and the trust account and the loan account were all originally the domain of the bank. And if you watched and went back the last, 6-7 years, Daniele, and you watched the fintech industry, or you even look at the cryptocurrency industry, you see this massive growth curve. That's because technology has fused with money.
But even if you think of what was, in the understanding of people, what fintech was only last year.
Exactly.
For most of the people, fintech was just a neobank providing kind of online services in replacement with physical branches. So what fintech is for us is something more than that.
Exactly. And so without further ado, I want to introduce Daniel Menzi. Daniel and I did Oxford blockchain together. We met each other there. We had many great conversations. We love to share books and challenge each other at which new thinker we should study next. It's a true honor to work with somebody like Daniele, and as the president of Fusion STX, when we're looking at ownership, I talk a lot about owning your cloud, ownership, and so forth. But what about when you distribute that ownership to other investors and you've got a duty and responsibility to those people? What about utility and running that business and giving you the best chance to run the best business you can? Of course, management and culture do everything to make a business succeed or fail. But if you don't even have the tools and the utility at first, it makes it that much harder, as we've talked about. And then finally, liquidity. How do we find liquidity to either grow our business or let people come and go as they wish through ownership structures and so forth? So Daniele, maybe you can talk about what we believe with our rollout of Fusion Funder and Fusion STX, the Fusion Stock Token Exchange. How is that going to change the world of capital and business?
Yeah. So first of all, it's an honor for me to be here, work with you and the rest of the team, because we share a mission, which is to change the world. And we, as every crazy guys, is not simple in the world, but at least we are driven by this idea that we are shaping on everything we're doing on a daily basis. And I'm truly convinced that we're going to do something really, really cool that will significantly improve the way both things you mentioned before work today, which is money and technology. I will talk more about money because you covered most of the part of the technology before. On the money side, so what is really, really critical today, and for those that understand what money is, what debt credit is, they will share with me the idea that today it's extremely challenging getting access to money and to capital. So the way today this industry is being driven is that in order to get something from those that providing you with money, you need to have something in the back which equalize the risk that the counterparty is taking to giving you money. It never starts with something saying, I trust you and I give you something in exchange of nothing, because I believe you're going to succeed there. So that's the fundamental shift, which is, technically speaking, it's called a collateral. So anytime you need to have money, you need to collateralize your idea with something that you own. What about if I don't own anything, but I just have a good idea and I want to shape and start a new business? Looking at the outlook of the pandemic, we forecast that more and more entrepreneurs will step into a kind of solo career or entrepreneurship career. And that's why we come to initial the idea and now with a platform which solve this problem. Meaning that I explained last week what is crowdfunding for us. Crowdfunding means we want to fund the crowd, okay? Fund means providing capital at scale for the crowds from anywhere in the world. No matter where you're in the US, in Italy, you might be in Uzbekistan, as I told last week, and in whatever industry you might see it, we would like to provide a solution for the capital raise for that. So that is Fusion Funder. So which is essentially, it's a matchmaking engine, as we call it, that create a very strong connection between two parties. One, which is the one that has an idea. Technically, it's called the issuer. And the other side of the coin, which is those which are interested to provide capital to make an opportunity. Okay, so obviously we have some challenges, which is launching a global platform out of the blue is not something we do it overnight. So this means the platform has a huge journey in front to cover, different sides of the aspects of a compliance, of the marketing, of the partnership and affiliation to the platform. So this journey, it will last for years. But right now, and this is what Tim is showing here, we have some cool projects we are launching as of next week. So the people that are following us will see the project that are going to be listed in the platform on an ongoing basis. And you will better understand what Fusion Funder is about. So here, as you see here, Supercar Driven and Seed Certain, plus other projects that you're going to see as of the following weeks, because technically we're in the process of onboarding them. It will take still some weeks until they're live and seen and visible by the people to have a look at it. But what Fusion Funder is about is we believe it's a strong evolution of the current crowdfunding platform. So as any issuer and any investor, any broker-dealer can connect with that issuer throughout Fusion Funder. It's a huge, huge step forward. Can you hear me?
Yes, Daniela, we can hear you.
Yes. No, I thought I lost. I didn't see anything for a few seconds. Yeah. So I just briefly introduced Fusion Funder. From a micro perspective, I just want to spend a few words on what is money today and how money is moving forward. So if you follow the financial markets overall, the stock markets, and many other industries that somehow strongly connected to money. So SME, so the small medium enterprises that are the ones that create jobs and create wealth within a country, within a system. So they are really, really struggling right now because from one hand, they see a downturn into their top line in the revenues. I'm not talking about Amazon, obviously. I'm talking about for retail shops and physical business that rely on the people in the shops to buy their services or to buy the products. So they see somehow revenues going down and they need to change something into their business. So one of the things they can do, and we are doing it for one specific vertical, which is pretty cool, which is real estate. So in fact, one thing we're doing over there is to create a parallel system on top of the investment banks and the banks that obviously finance all the buildings and the properties to be developed. So we provide a kind of a tokenized approach, which is still under the head of Fusion Funder, but is using the token as a mean of capturing value and exchanging value all over the life cycle and the stakeholders. So tokenized approach for a real estate company allows them to create a kind of an independent fund, obviously tokenized, which it's very, very interesting for us because it can give a quicker access to capital. So they might need to do a project now because they see a huge opportunity, but the banks might take years or 1 year or 6 months until they get a response, but they need to do it now. They should not wait. So in fact, with us, they're creating a kind of a parallel structure, which is alternative to the banking system, which this structure, if people strongly believe, so in this case, investors, broker dealers, or other people strongly believe that these guys can deliver their promise, can deliver their project, this fund can finance all the projects of this company, regardless of the turnover of this company, if the value proposition of the project is there. So we're shifting, coming back to my first point about the collateral, we're shifting from a risk-based decision-making in the credit industry to a project-driven decision-making process, which change fundamentally how corporate finance work. This is a very, very important topic that we bring in on the table to change the world, as I said at the beginning.
And so with that, Daniele, and thank you for the explanation, because I think it's really important to look at what else we learned. We've talked about outages. We've talked about data centralization. We've talked about control of the cloud. And now we're talking about control of money. And I always love this. And I'm going to say, I'm not even going to try and say the Latin. I'm going to ask Daniele to say it. But I will say it in English. So you, okay, go for it.
Let me retrieve it. Quis custodiet ipsos custodes.
See, now if I would have said that, I would have butchered it,
Yeah.
which means who will guard the guards themselves by Juvenal. And Juvenal really had this. Who will guard the guards themselves? HSBC wasn't prosecuted because it was too big to fail. House committee. There are billions of dollars, billions that have been penalized against these companies, but yet they're still operating. And interestingly enough, we have an experience where we're required to get an account through a bank that is actually under criminal watch. So this is how messed up the system is. It just doesn't make sense. So we have roadblocks, we have data crashes, we have breaches, and we have this mentality of too big to fail. How about too big to control? How about too big not to change the way things are being done? So when we talk about changing, we're talking about this. Who will guard the guards themselves? And that's why we say, in code we trust.
Yeah.
And in code we trust means that when we put this out onto a ledger, when we put this into a process, the machine doesn't have these emotions. It should be looked at on the front end, but it should be measured on the back end by a process that is regulatory standards approved and that is accepted. And then if something breaks down, you can look and see exactly what happened. You can prevent it. You can do real-time regulatory, prevent it from ever happening in the first place. And we're actually working on a project with that, which we'll be announcing very shortly at global scale with global players backed by global institutions committed to changing the way financial markets work and committed to doing this. So it's not just us. But the question I have is for everybody out there to think about is this is pretty cool technology, right? This is pretty innovative. It's brand new. It's wow. Why didn't we think of this before? Well, the reality is we did think of it before. We didn't know we needed it until we needed it. We didn't know that what the iPhone just think about that, in 2007, that's not that long ago, that's 13 years ago, would do today. And imagine a world without Google. I think I missed a slide here. My deck's missing a slide. No, it's here. What about this video we're using today? Look at that. Do you know that the very first video was done by Bell Labs in 1964? 1964 is when the very first video was done.
And here, Tim, I've been working for a company many years ago. Actually, there was a first mobile operator that launched the video call on
Right.
top of the 3G, so UMTS. And I remember that was 2003. And
Yes.
I remember the CEO of that company that told the video call, it will be the next big thing for telco. But telco never managed to monetize. If you think about it,
Right.
telco don't get a penny of all the video call we're doing.
That's right.
While at the beginning, we wanted to create a protocol to embed video like voice and to price video in the bills of the telco. They never managed because this arrived, as we call it, over the top.
Exactly. So the video history has been here for a long time. And so when Jules asked me, why would we do it any other way than embed it? I can do that. We can build that. I'm like, okay, go for it. And he did. This is technology that's been there for a long time. It just hasn't been so apparent. WhatsApp video calling, first impressions, 2016. Just 4 years ago. And today it's a part of the fabric of everything in our lives. So when we talk about things, when we look at where we're at, when we talk about the secure virtual space, we talk about work certain, we talk about the digital dozen, we talk about being used to doing something, and we talk about habits and feedback loops. We're talking about this. All of these things coming together through all of these apps. We've got our operating system, and we're releasing a dozen apps that all work seamlessly together, that are the exact same functions, seemingly the exact same as what you're used to. So if you think you can go back to a world without video, if you think you can go back to a world without internet connection, if you think you can go back to a world without a Google search, then you're probably not going to be interested in owning your own virtual space and building a completely, truly digital business. If you don't think the world should go backwards and should go forwards, then that's what we're about, and that's what BlockCert's about, and that's what our Be Certain movement is. Be certain about what you can actually do, and we'll be giving cloud power to the people. We really believe this and are pushing for this in everything that we do. So when you're following the BlockCert's mission, as you're doing today, that's what you're learning about, is our secure virtual space technology. You're learning about how we're applying it to the world, and we think it's incredibly important. Why is it important? And what do we have? What are we doing to drive it forward? We're helping with shopping. We're helping secure that so that the shopping experience is an experience that you can rely on and that you can understand will always be available with all of your business needs, whether those are tools, those are services you're providing, or they're carts that you're providing to your customers. So shopping is a big part of it, but what's a bigger part of it? What's a bigger part of our lives today? A bigger part of our lives is health and healthcare. So we've built Health Certain around the work certain philosophy. And we're currently working, Daniele is actually working on a project that deals directly with COVID. And we've got the initial beginning work for our COVID process, because guess what? Even if you had a cure, an immunity tomorrow, this wouldn't change the fact that access, assurance, and social responsibility are a huge part of our lives, and we all know that now. We all know that healthcare and security and being confident in our healthcare is absolutely critical and important. And when we have health, we have this need for privacy. And that privacy that we call the NDA vault is all embedded in that digital container that you control even when the world is out of control. All of these tools are released, are live, are part of the BoxCerts infrastructure to help you deal with your digital dozen. And our goal being that you can always be certain about everything that you deal with in your life, because there's a lot of things that are uncertain in that. So finally, we work with I Am Certain. I Am Certain, which is integrated access management, will give you complete control over all of this, including eliminating what Dan and I talk about a lot, which is the password trap, and log in with your email trap and all of that. So in 2001, the iPod, which was the predecessor to the iPhone, was launched. It was 19 years ago. And we were all amazed, and we adopted it, and it made Apple what it is today. A company that tops $1 trillion, and there was 1,000 songs in your pocket. Well, what we're introducing to you with BoxCerts in 2020, 19 years later, is your work, your business, identity, health, wealth in your pocket and in your control. That's what we're introducing today. So we have the tools. We know we're at the very beginning and we're breaking new ground. We know that we've been brought here by a series of events that we experienced over and over in the history of building this through, as we always like to say, somewhere approaching 2 million man hours, or person hours, I guess I should say. And that's kind of the fate that brought us to where we are, and we can release BoxCerts to the world. The streaming is another part of that, thinking through and never saying we're not going to accept anything, but changing the world with this mission of how we can bring effective impact to the world of business and to people in general. So I wanted to end with this, which is accept the things to which fate binds you and love the people who fate brings you together with, but do so with all your heart, from Marcus Aurelius. We have had an incredible team. We've had an incredible group of believers and supporters who have joined us very early on as token buyers. Please visit us at boxcerts.com. Are we perfect yet? No. Are we trying every day? With all our hearts, we are doing this, and we love what we're doing. We believe we're here for a reason. We believe you're here for a reason. So please be part of the BoxCerts mission and journey with us. We want to help. We want to be part of your success, your future, and that's what BoxCerts is all about. So with that, Dan, I think I've completed, and we went a few minutes over, but we were a few minutes late starting. So
yeah, so perfect. So thank you, Tim. Thank you, Daniele. And just some housekeeping issues. Since we're streaming live on YouTube, there are 3 things that we'd appreciate, and it would actually help you as well. The first thing is to subscribe to this new channel. This is the first live stream that we have on there, and then we will have one every week going forward. The second thing is to click on the thumbs up if you enjoyed this and want more. We'll continue with this. And the third thing is to click on the bell, and that will ensure that you're notified anytime that we have the live stream ready for the next week, and you'll be notified with what the topic is, and you'll be notified with when it starts, etc. So those 3 things, thank you. And we've already had, I've got my iPhone here looking, and we've got people that are clicking on that right now. It continues to go up, so that's good. So thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you and being with us each and every week. And thanks, Daniele, for joining us in your evening. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And, my favorite part of the day is Fridays, and I want to wish everybody a great weekend. And please, as I always say, stay safe, stay healthy, stay digital or get digital, and be certain.
All right, thanks everyone, and I'm gonna shut down the live stream now. and we'll see you same time next week. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.